welcome to the second part of our two-part special on single parents. Here's a quick recap of some of our real-life stories from part one of the last show. So good to have you here, and thanks so much for coming on to talk about this with us, because I'm hoping that you'll be able to give our viewers some inspiration, because you are a single dad of 5.
Yeah.
Righty. So let's go back a bit. Can you tell us a bit about your relationship before it broke down?
Yeah, it's hard work. It was hectic. Mm-hmm. She didn't like me working. I was a bus driver at the time, a taxi driver. Yeah, she still wasn't getting working, so I stayed at home, and that proved to be even more difficult because you're with her 24 hours a day. So so it was just hard work. And then one day she had enough, walked out.
But how old are your kids?
Now they are 10, 9, 7, 6, 5.
Okay, and this was how long ago?
4 years.
So they were really
the
young,
the little one, he'd 13 months. He just turned 1.
Wow. So what was that like for you, sort of initially, as soon as you realised, look, she's gone, and now I'm on my own?
It wasn't a panic or worry, because my dad done it. It was 5 of us as well. Mum left my dad, and he brought up 5. So I know it was possible and it could be done. Okay. So it's just a case of having to.
How important is that kind of time away for you?
Really important, because as lovely as they are, 5 kids is a lot of work. Yeah. So it keeps you on your toes.
So that's something you would advise single parents, like, to try and have at least an evening to yourself?
It's not a lot. It's one evening, but it makes a difference. It does, yeah. Never give up. There's been times where I thought, I'm just really doing a really bad job. I'm not coping. I'm doing really rubbish. But it's the same with the karate as well. You'll always be the last person that realises how well you're doing. Yeah. So everybody else will see the positives before you will. Yeah.
What do you think's been maybe the hardest part for you?
Hardest is probably the fact that I can't work. So financially, it's difficult.
So now we're going to get to know more about Carmelita, because she does have a beautiful smile. She looks very happy, but she has been through a tough time, haven't you,
Yes,
darling?
I have. He just left, up and left.
So how old was your daughter at the time?
I was Liana, baby, 18 months.
Oh, she was a baby?
Oh, yeah, she was a baby.
And you decided
he wasn't even around during the baby. I didn't even want him in the birthing. Like when I gave birth, I didn't want him to come, but my mom played an instrumental part and said he needs to go down there and see his child being born. It's not easy. Yeah. It's not been easy. It's been hard.
What's been the hardest, would you say?
Financially. Okay. Because it was just my paycheck. I do everything, actually. And I just had to say, I had to pray and ask the good Lord to just guide me through this, right?
Tell us about your daughter.
She's beautiful. She's made me so proud. I just can't even explain the words. Like, she's just a good girl.
I'd like you, Carmelita, to give a bit of advice to our viewers at home who maybe are single parents, or something's happened, maybe a partner's died or left them, or they found themselves on their own with a young child. What advice would you give to them?
All I could say is stay to the wicked. The runs will come, because there is light down the tunnel. It's not an easy road, it's not easy at all. You just have to stay there and just keep on pressing on. Keep on pressing on, and don't stop, don't give up. I never gave up, I just kept fighting. So I'm a fighter, I'm everything when you think about it. So my advice is to just look to the heavens. There is a higher power, and Brilliant. He helps you out.
So we had some really great guests on there. And tonight we're going to continue the journey of learning more about the hardships and achievements of single parenthood, and more specifically what they have to go through mentally, something that we need to acknowledge and address, of course. So tonight we have a very special guest, single mum Miriam Virgo, who'll be telling us her journey through single parenthood on the Chrissy B Show. And later on, psychologist Glenn Mason will also be joining us. Plus, I'll be giving you my top tips on how to deal with rejection. And there's a reason why I chose to do my tips on rejection tonight. So make sure you stay tuned throughout the show to find out why. Now, please welcome our special guest for tonight, Miriam Virgo. Hello, Miriam.
Hello, Chrissy.
How are you, my love?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, because you've actually got quite a story to tell, because you became a a single mum in quite a disturbing way, I would say. Can you tell us about what happened?
Yeah, this was going back to 2001, but I was at a works event and somebody, they believe, spiked my drink, and as a result I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant, but I didn't know I was pregnant. So for a good 4 months I was kind of living my life and then getting ill, not knowing what was wrong.
So you just went out for a normal
work I was
party?
working, I was at works do, and the manager of the company paid for all the stuff to go out and have this works do at university.
I suppose something you were quite looking forward to.
Yeah,
to
definitely. And it was just an ordinary work event. I didn't think anything of it. And I didn't even know at the time that anything had really happened to me. So all I know is that I got lost on the way there. So it finished, lost on the way to the event. I was with two of my other colleagues.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to get there, I don't know, 7 o'clock, and we didn't get there till like 10:30, and it finished at 11.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's sort of like a really last minute thing for us when we got there, and it was closing time really. And then I was given a drink by somebody that I worked with, and a few moments later I just wasn't with it anymore. I was just...
What, you started to feel sick?
Yeah, I was feeling ill, but people have said to me afterwards that I was like running outside and just not with it, and they were like, what's happened to her? She's, she was fine, she's, And then I vaguely remember just being against a wall and with this particular person, and then I just don't remember anything else. I remember waking up the next day at my friend's house, and he said, what happened to you? He said, you were lying on the road, a taxi driver used your phone to call me and say, because I think he was the last dialed number in my phone, and it was just a horrible thing. And
of course.
Yeah, it really just wasn't a good situation.
So then how long after that night did you find out you were pregnant?
Well, the funny thing is, for 2 weeks after that incident, I heard like a still small voice in my head just constantly say to me, you've been raped, you need to go to the police, you've been raped, you need to go to the police. And I thought, what am I actually going to the police to say? It didn't make sense to me.
Had you seen anything on yourself?
Well, no, I had gone to work on the Monday after the incident, and people at work had come up to me and said, are you all right, what happened? And some people had said they'd seen this person with me and weren't too sure what was going on, and I confronted the individual and he just denied it all. He said he was a little bit drunk and had tried to kiss me, but that was it. So I didn't have any reason to believe I was pregnant. So it just really wasn't anything that I could... Yeah. I felt horrible, obviously, but I couldn't prove or believe that anything had actually occurred. Gosh. So I was just left in a very sort of vulnerable position. And then I just sort of carried on at work for the next 4 months, and then I got... a few of us were dismissed from work, not for anything wrong, but I think just made redundant. Yeah. And then I found out after that, really, that I was actually pregnant. So
how did you actually find out?
It's quite a funny way in a way, but I was in Tesco shopping, and I sort of passed out in Tesco's, and my friend was like, what's wrong with you? He was quite young and just quite stupid. He's like, get up, man, get up. What's wrong with you, man? Come on.
I'm embarrassing.
And I was like, I just feel really, really ill, and I was really, really dizzy. So I had to go to the hospital, and they were like, okay, your blood pressure's a little bit low, but you seem okay. So they said, go to your GP. When I went to my GP, he did a blood test, and I went to my friend's house, and she said, are you sure you're not pregnant? And I said, no, there's no way I could be pregnant. But she was pregnant, and she's like, well, look, I've got a test, just take one anyway. I was like, I don't need to take a test because I'm not pregnant. Yeah. So I took the test to sort of shut everybody up, because everyone kept saying, but your stomach looks a bit big, are you sure you're not pregnant? And obviously I'm hoping the result's going to be like negative, and it actually said positive.
What went through your mind then?
It didn't seem real. It was... I know it sounds ridiculous, but it seemed like, the Immaculate Conception, because I'm thinking, well, this is not possible. Yeah. And I just sat and stared at this stick for ages, and I was numb. I was just numb. And I told my friend, and she gave me a big hug, and she took me to the doctors, and he said, well, these tests are pretty accurate, but we'll do a blood test, for sure. But I didn't want to wait, so I went to the local, I think it was a family planning clinic or something, saw a gynecologist, and she said, your uterus is really high. I said, well, when would this baby have been conceived then? And she said, well, April. And I just knew straight away that was the works due was like, I don't know, the 21st of April or something like that. So I just knew, and it was just an absolutely horrible. And I phoned the person and I said, I've just been told I'm pregnant, and I've just been told that this baby was conceived in April. And they just went quiet. So I thought they were going to have the same bravado that they had when I asked what had happened and say, oh, don't be stupid, I told you I didn't do anything. But they actually said, oh, I apologise for what I did to you that night. I didn't think this was going to happen.
What?
And I was just flabbergasted. Like,
did you report him?
At that point, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't, although I knew I was expecting him to admit it, I wasn't, because of how he'd been before.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shocked me a bit, and I was just really taken aback. So I went and I spoke to my mum, actually, and I just said, Mum, I'm pregnant. Because I had a boyfriend by then, we'd only been dating for 2 weeks, so she thought it was him.
Yeah.
And I said, oh no, and I told her what happened. She said, well, I need to tell your dad about this. And I was really scared to tell my dad. Like, he was the one person that I really feared. But yeah, it was...
How did he react?
He was fine, actually.
Because it wasn't your...
No.
That was just a horrible thing that happened. It's not something that, that was meant to happen.
I know.
Really.
I think because it's such a bizarre story, and it's so all over the place, and it's so bitty, and it doesn't make any sense. And you're trying to convince yourself, like, what happened? Do you know what I mean? And I knew earlier on that night, which I forgot to say, that particular guy had actually tried it on with me when I'd first arrived, and I told him I'm not interested. So that's why I knew it wasn't like, oh, we hooked up and we went off together and I fancied him. I really wasn't interested in him at all. So it's it was a very difficult and horrible situation.
Awful. But Miriam, you did something. You made a decision.
I did.
After this all happened,
yes.
And I would say a very brave decision.
Yeah.
And some people would say, well, if you've become pregnant by being raped, there's absolutely no problem with having an abortion and moving on with your life, because otherwise it would be like a constant reminder. But you decided to do something else, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which we are going to find out after the break. So guys, don't go away. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. And if you've just joined us, we are doing a two-part special on the life of single parents. And we're still here with our lovely guest and single mum, Miriam. So before the break, Miriam, you talked about how something very, very horrible happened to you, where you were basically raped. And then you found out 4 months later that you were pregnant, and obviously the shock that came with it and everything like that. So did you at that point, had you already made a decision, look, I'm not going to keep this baby?
No, I think... in a way, I'm glad I told my parents, because I was still quite young. I was 19 and I didn't know what to do. And my dad stepped in and said, look, this is, you need to go to the police. Because I think psychologically I was trying to deal with it as though it was a consensual thing, because I couldn't handle what had happened. And I think the worst thing is I couldn't remember. And now that's even worse than, I think, remembering, because you just don't know what, you just think, well, what happened? It just doesn't feel real. And then obviously I'm hearing all these different stories about my drink being spiked and whatever else, and so I just felt like I was in a daze. So I went to the police station, and that kind of gave me peace immediately, because they sort of believed what I'd said, and they helped me understand that there was a lot of cases of people's drinks being spiked at that time. So they kind of explained why I would be having flashbacks and why I couldn't remember things. And I at first decided to have an abortion, mainly because I felt that at first the man, when he'd got arrested, had denied it altogether. He said he didn't even come near me. So the police were like, well, we need the DNA from the fetus for analysis. So that kind of made me make a decision, like, okay, I have to have an abortion. So I went to the abortion clinic, and the police came with me to take the baby away. And I just remember sort of putting on the gown and not knowing what to do. And because I was a Christian as well, I prayed and I was like, God, I can't manage with this baby. I said, you know, you see my life with her, you see my life without her. And what had made it worse, I forgot to add, was that I had to have a scan just before the abortion. And the two doctors were talking, and I don't think they meant to, but they said female. So they then told me the sex of the baby indirectly. And it went from being, in my opinion, you know, an alien, something I wasn't attached to or whatever, to actually now a person, a baby with a sex. And I thought, this is awful. I'm taking the life of a female child, and it you know, it really messed with my head. And I sort of went downstairs to have the abortion, and literally as I was walking down the stairs, I just felt like a rush of love. Just yeah, it was. I can't explain it, because at that point I'd been completely detached and didn't want anything to do with this baby. And I just felt like, I always explain it like I felt like I was on death row. It felt like I actually said, if you're going to kill my baby, you have to kill me as well. Like, I can't do it. And I just started to cry, like uncontrollably shaking. And the nurse said, you don't have to go through with this. But then another lady approached me, and because she was like a black African lady, she kind of reminded me of like a mother figure. And she was like, you have to have this abortion. The police are waiting, you know, you need to go and just get rid of this. And she said, you know, you can get married later and have your husband, and your husband will have a baby with you.
So many conflicting
I know. So I
thoughts.
listened to her, and I said, oh, okay, then I will have the abortion. And just as she went to call the doctor, the doctor went in the lift, and the lift door just slammed shut. And I just took that as a sign, like, no, you're just not supposed to have this abortion. So I just didn't do it. And I just kept my daughter.
You have a 13-year-old daughter.
Now she's 13.
What's her name?
Kalisha.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now tell me, Miriam, obviously it was a horrible thing that you went through, but obviously you don't regret the decision now to keep your daughter.
Absolutely not at all.
Because tell us about her.
She's just amazing, such a bright, intelligent young girl. You know, I would say that my first thoughts when I was pregnant was, oh my goodness, I wanted to go to university, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I sometimes think we say things in hindsight, when in reality, I probably wouldn't have gone to uni that year. I would have probably delayed a year. And I think my life has actually been better because of her. The decisions that I've made, the choices that I've had offered to me have been good, you know, and she's just such a blessing. You know, she's really clever, she's really bright, she's really funny. And I just couldn't ever imagine her not being here now.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Oh, I'm so happy for you. So tell us when, obviously when she was a baby, or even when you were sort of pregnant, maybe in the later stages, how were you sort of coping mentally, and how were you trying to keep yourself positive?
No, it was quite tough. Most of my support mechanism before I was pregnant was in the church. So I kind of really relied on the fact that the church would support me and help me. But it was actually the opposite. So they kind of, they rejected me. They told me I had to step down immediately from the choir, and they were like, you know, we can't have you up there pregnant. It will be a sign to everyone else that you should, they can go and get pregnant as well. And no one from the church came to visit me when I had her. And a few individuals did do like on the side. But normally when someone has a baby, they announce it from the pulpit and they're showered with gifts and stuff, and I didn't have anything like that. So I just felt rejected constantly, and that made me initially have this separation from my daughter, because I was like, oh, because of this baby, I can't be a part of the church, which had always been a part of my life. So,
which I have to say, guys, because you know that you had that experience in the church, which is a horrible thing, because you expect sort of support. And I have to say that not all churches are like that, because I was going to go on to say that. Because for example, the one I go to a church where they actually have groups for single mums to help them and everything like that. So you need to find a place that supports you, basically, whether that's a church, whether that's like a group of some sort where there's other maybe people, single parents and stuff. It's very, very important to get that support from someone. If you're being rejected somewhere, and if don't take that as something that means there's something wrong with you, or you know you're dirty or anything like that. Maybe you're just in the wrong place, basically, and that you have to find somewhere that, you know, you're surrounded by people that are supportive.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean the story does get better. You know, that was then. That was 10 years ago. I did, and I want to make this clear, go back to the same church 10 years later, and the pastor of the church actually stood on the pulpit and said, we let Miriam down. We should have supported her.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah.
And he embraced me and like was really supportive.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying there is actually a light. My story, you know, because you can make decisions because you think I'm being rejected by this group of people.
Yeah.
And it's bigger than the church. I think it boils down to people not understanding rape and abuse and not knowing how to deal with it. And we are talking about nearly 13 years ago now. There's, you know, a lot more things have come to light now with abuse and rape, and people have got more equipped. But unfortunately back then it just wasn't, you know, something people knew how to deal with. So, but it
must have been hard sort of going through that at the time. Sort of, how did you cope with that even?
It was hard. I didn't cope very well. You know, for a period of time I went out clubbing and drinking, and I was like, I'm just going to live my life, you know, stuff church, stuff morality. But actually, and again, because I'm a Christian, I just feel that God brought me back on path again. And, you know, I just joined a new church in London and met other single mums like me who had been getting on with their lives. You know, I joined the police force. And I just started to really grow as a person, and you know, I kind of accepted being a single mum and owned being a single mum, whereas before I was always maybe thinking, well, if I just get a partner, it will just make everything all right and cover it all up. Whereas
but
now,
you had to be comfortable within your own self first of all, love yourself the way you were.
Absolutely,
right? And then before even thinking about, because the thing is, it's true, because sometimes there's single mums that will just get with anyone because they don't want to be alone and they don't want their child to grow up without a father figure, and they end up making wrong decisions in their love life. So it is important, once you're grounded within yourself, that you then, now if I'm ready for a relationship, then I will have a relationship, but not because I'm in a hurry to get someone just because I'm single right now, a single mum.
Exactly.
Which is really good.
It's so true. Definitely. But yeah, my daughter's amazing, and you know, I can honestly say that throughout the whole of her life, I've been provided for. So I've never really been in a position where I haven't been able to feed her or clothe her or go anywhere and do things I want to do. In fact, it's broadened my horizons, and I sort of empower people now to kind of not allow things to stop them.
Now tell us, Miriam, you said you joined the police force. Why did you join the police force?
Initially, it was because, as well as being raped then, I had been molested when I was 17 by a taxi driver, and the police hadn't handled that very well. And I just felt that overall, although I got a good response from some police officers, there were just a lot that were quite like judgmental and maybe not understanding, and I just kind of wanted to make a difference. But it wasn't a plan in that sense. I was actually working for a call centre, and I wasn't there at that point. I was working for a recruitment agency as a caterer, and because I had quite a bubbly personality, they asked me to represent them at their recruitment fair. And when I was there, the police were there, like a stall that said police, and a guy just said to me, "Could you be a police officer? Why don't you join?" And I was like, "Oh, I could never do that." And he said, "Why not?" And I didn't have a reason why not. And I took the form, filled it out, failed the fitness test, and then I started to work at this call centre. And this old lady had a right go at me, and she said, "You know, my grandson would love to get into the police, but he can't because he's got asthma, and you've got it right at your feet and you're messing around with it." She goes, "Go and get fit and join the police." So I just took her advice, really. And my friend phoned me and he said the police had reduced the fitness test pass mark now. So I thought, so I went back and I retrained, and I passed at the original mark anyway and got in. So
so what's it like then being a police officer?
It's fine. I think it's I'm sort of better at the whole domestic violence type thing and caring for people, because I've just got that huge side to me. So I'm not so much like
and
a
also because of what you went through, and you sort of understand the emotions maybe that people go through, and which probably makes you a brilliant police officer.
I don't know about that, but I try.
Now, Miriam, I'm not going to let you go just yet, because we are going to be having on a psychologist as well to talk about your story a bit. But also I'd like, after the break, before we meet him, for you to just give some advice to our single parents out there who maybe have been through something a bit traumatic like yourself, or just not feeling very good about themselves. I think, now I'm a single parent, what do I do with my life? I'd like you to give a bit of advice after this break. So guys, don't go away, and we'll join Miriam again after this. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information, and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, and we bring you a two-part special on the lives of single parents to learn more about what they have to go through physically and mentally, as we've seen from our first few guests on our previous show. And today we've had the privilege to meet Miriam, who's so bravely shared her story with us tonight and is still with us right now. Because Miriam, I'd like you to give a bit of advice to our viewers in just a second. But first of all, tell us about this book that you've written, The Naked Truth.
Yeah.
When did you write it?
I wrote that book in 2010. And it was published as well the same time. I wrote it in 2 weeks. I just had I call it divine inspiration. And I just wrote away. And I really wanted people to be real and be open and just encourage them by being open myself.
Yeah.
So I've talked about everything, I've bared all, but with the understanding that people can realise A, they're not alone, B, they're only human, and C, there's always an opportunity to get back up off the ground and pick yourself up. So,
I think you've just given the advice, Josh. I was going to say to you. I was going to say to him, because maybe we do have some viewers watching that. Maybe single parents, either men or women, that find themselves alone now, and they're not sure how they're going to cope and what they can do, and the future for them seems kind of bleak. What would you say to them?
I would say that there's loads of help out there. There's people that will help you that you probably don't even realise will help you. I was helped by an organisation that was just local. I didn't know about them. They provide furniture, they provided clothing, bedding, washing machines, all these things I didn't know about. And I would say, as you mentioned earlier, local support groups. A lot of churches have single parent groups and mother and baby groups and things like that. But above all, I'd say be yourself. If you try to be this amazing mum, which is what I tried to do, and I tried to act as though I had a partner that could help me and provide as well, and it didn't work. And I think just be real with your child as well. I'm so real with my daughter about my life. I'm so real about if I don't have money this week, it's we don't have the money now. Don't sort of try and put yourself out there and get broke for the sake of providing and giving them the latest Nike trainers. Just say, I'm sorry, can't provide your, that today. It will have to be whenever, So I think that's
important.
I think it's just about being honest, open, fair, and being balanced as well. If you need help, tell your friends, tell people local or whatever. And you're not alone. There are so many single parents out there now, and there's people, on social media that have set up single parent groups and stuff like that. So
it's true. Miriam, thank you so much for coming on to share your story. It's been lovely having you on.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure you've inspired our viewers today.
Thank you.
Brilliant. All right, guys, so now we're going to have psychologist Glenn Mason, who joins us via Skype all the way from Manchester. So let's have a word with him just now. And now I'm joined by psychologist Glenn Mason, who joins us via Skype all the way from Manchester. Hello, Glenn.
Hi, Chrissy.
Thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
So, Glenn, you've heard Miriam's story. What did you think of her case, first of all, before we move on?
Yeah, I think one of the things that really stood out for me in Miriam's story is just really how she made the choice of not letting her experience define her. So that she took the difficulties that she went through, and also she made the choice not to let herself be defined by it, but how she could develop herself through it. And I think I'm a big advocate of people sharing stories like this, because it just raises awareness around these issues and helps other people know that actually you're not alone in these experiences, that other people have been through them and have managed to get through the other side. Yeah.
Now, obviously what she went through was very traumatic, finding out she was pregnant when she didn't even know what had happened to her and everything. In the case of people at home that maybe have been through something quite difficult like that, or, obviously hers was quite an extreme case, but something difficult that they're finding hard to cope with, what advice would you give?
I think one of the things that would be really helpful to think about is, first of all, to maybe find somebody that you can talk to. Sometimes that might be a family member, it might be a friend, or it might be a therapist or your GP. Because often when we talk to somebody, we get all that stuff that's going on in our mind, all that stuff that's going on internally, out externally to somebody. Yeah. Can begin to help with some of the processing of that. I mean, when somebody's been through an experience such as a sexual assault, there's lots of different things that they could experience, psychological difficulties, emotional problems, physical problems. So it can affect people in lots of different ways. And it's really important to get some support around that and to know that actually you're not alone in this.
And obviously also, because the topic is about single parents today, we've been doing a two-part special. And that a lot of single parents whether, you know, however they ended up that way, maybe a partner died or left them, or it was an unexpected pregnancy. They go through a lot of mental anguish, I would say, because, you know, it's like their life is now on hold. They don't know what to do with their future. It's a very scary thing for them, isn't it, Glenn?
So when we think about the statistics around single parents families within the UK, so there's around 2 million single parent families, and around 1 in 4 households will have a single parent at the head of the house, and that doesn't necessarily always have to be the mother. We know from research that around 1 in 10 single parent families will have the dad at the head of the house. And some of the issues that can face single parent families, from research again, we know that they're going to be more vulnerable to the likes of poverty. So about twice as likely to be experiencing difficulties around poverty, and that can lead to lots of difficulties. And sometimes there is this conception, an idea that actually single parent families, are the children going to be more vulnerable to difficulties in later life as well? And actually it's not often that they're being raised in a single parent family that's the problem. It's often the conflicts that can be associated with that, such as the financial difficulties, or if parents are kind of arguing and fighting. Those are the issues that we know that are going to create the problems not being brought up in a single parent family. It's the conflict that's often attached to that.
All right, and actually the money issues is something that a couple of our guests mentioned on the previous show, that's what they struggled with the most. But they battled through it, because, you know, with the right help and support, you can make things work, can't you, Glenn?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about, you know, we've kind of two choices when we face difficult situations. We have a choice to let that problem, you know, fester away and eat away at us, or we can make the decision to try and move forward through that, seek some support, to chat to somebody, because there is help out there for people. Okay.
Now, Miriam did talk about sort of rejection that she faced, but in the sense of a case of a child maybe that has grown up without one of their parents, and they do feel like they've been kind of rejected themselves. What would you say are the difficulties that come with that, and how can we combat that?
Yeah, so some of the difficulties that could then be associated with that is that rejection. So we may then carry that experience into adulthood and feel, well, if a parent can reject me, we can then maybe carry that into our relationships as well, and friendships, that actually, if this is able to happen as a child, maybe other people are going to treat me like that as well. So that might leave somebody quite anxious around experiencing those rejections in later life. In terms of trying to overcome that, quite often that will impact upon a person's self-worth, impact upon a person's self-esteem. So again, seeking some psychological support can begin to help you understand some of the behaviours, some of the thoughts that you have, to try and move forward and deal with some of the issues that we've experienced in childhood. And, you know, as adults, we're all going to be, you know, I believe that the experiences that we've been through in childhood are going to impact upon us in adult life, but we're maybe not quite sure how they are maybe doing that. So by going to seek some professional help, they can help uncover some of those issues that you might be experiencing in adulthood and begin to think about how to move forward with those.
Yeah, so it's a very important thing to mention, isn't it, Glenn? Because, you know, we don't sort of behave in ways for nothing. Some things caused us to behave that way, experiences that we've had in the past, and it's so important to get to the bottom of that. If you feel, if a person sort of reacts in aggressive ways to certain things, to certain triggers and things, we need to kind of look at that and see, okay, where did this come from? What's the roots of my behavior? And, you know, there's nothing wrong, because everyone has roots, everyone has a past, everyone has been through something. And, you know, we can't sort of put all the blame on ourselves and say I'm a terrible person, because there's always, once we get the right help, and we can identify those roots and deal with them, our lives can move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's about coming back to what I said earlier on. It's not about letting the problem define us. It's about looking at ways to kind of move forward from that, because as we stay within that problem, we do let that problem define us. But as we begin to look at ways to move beyond it, that's when we can begin to see our life changing and moving forward with how we want our life to go.
Brilliant. Glenn, it's been so lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, so up next, I'll be sharing my own advice on how to deal with rejection. So see you in just a moment, only here on The Chrissy B Show. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to our Single Parents Part 2 special here on The Chrissy B Show. So on our last show, Part 1 of this special, I gave you some top tips on how to deal with the stigma attached to single parenting. And tonight, thanks to Miriam and her story, I've been inspired to give you some advice on how to deal with rejection. So, if you don't deal with rejection, it can actually lead to other problems which can make the whole situation much worse. So in this part, I'm talking about rejection in general. So it could be rejection for maybe someone you asked out, someone that you like that you asked out that said no. It could be a rejection. Maybe you went for a job that you really wanted and you didn't get it. So it's going to be covering different things. So let's take a look at the first point, which is to take time out. Now, rejection is never easy to deal with. So if you need to, and depending on what type of rejection it was, you may need to just take some time out to think about what happened and also to talk to someone that you trust. So it always helps to kind of talk things over, and especially if you've been really hurt or you were really looking forward to something and it fell through, take some time out, have a think about what happened or how things could have maybe been done differently, and talk to someone and get those feelings off your chest. But don't try and sort of jump into something else immediately afterwards. Just take some time for yourself. The second point is to not advertise it. So say, for example, you were really going for this fantastic job that you put all your eggs in one basket. You really thought you'd get this job, and for some reason you didn't get this job. So what a lot of people do, which I think is very dangerous, especially when your emotions are heightened, is to post it all on social media. And you're tweeting about this company, you're tweeting, oh, I didn't get the job and they were like this and they were like that. Never do any things like that, especially when you're all worked up or you're angry about something, because what you post on social media can stay there forever. Once someone shares it, you can't do anything about it. So make sure you take stock of your emotions and don't go talking about things. So for example, in the job situation, you may not have got that job, but who's to say that the company didn't love you anyway, and if something else was to come out, they would give that to you. So it's like you're also kind of stopping yourself from getting other opportunities in your life because you've maybe posted it and have been bad-mouthing. So be very, very careful about your emotions and don't advertise your rejection to everyone. The third point is no bad-mouthing. So again, this kind of links to the previous point. So don't, if it's, for example, someone that you, say it was a relationship and you liked someone, or a potential relationship, you liked someone and then they rejected you, you asked them out, they said no. Don't start bad-mouthing the person or even hating them. So they must have had their reasons, they have their opinions. So whether it's, their opinion was wrong or right about you, or whatever the situation was, you shouldn't make things worse by talking badly about other people. It's only going to make you look bad. It's going to make you look desperate. It's going to make you look like the wrong person, actually. So, just be careful about how you deal with rejection, how you deal with someone maybe saying no to you. And I think it's a time where you have to kind of realize that you need to be mature about certain situations and understand that we don't always get what we want at the end of the day. There are times when we'll get the things that we go for, there are other times that we won't, and it's just a part of life, and we have to accept that sometimes. Obviously, if it's something that we should keep going for, like if it's a certain career path, you kind of have to be a bit stubborn in those situations to keep going for what you want, because there are things that are difficult to get, but there's other situations where you have to learn just to let it go and move on. The fourth point is don't take it personally. So Just because, for example, maybe someone might have said no to you, someone you asked out, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're worthless. If you didn't get the job that you applied for, it doesn't mean that you were terrible. It might just mean there was someone else that was more qualified than you. In the case of love, maybe the person just didn't look at you in that way, didn't see you in the way that you hoped. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. So try not to kind of let it get to you so much that you start doubting yourself, you start doubting your abilities, you start thinking you're a terrible person, because that's not the case. Of course, we should always strive to develop and to grow as a person. Always, you know, that's something that I live by. I love to learn new things and try to improve myself in any way that I can. But in situations like this, don't take it personally and move on. So my fifth point is to build your future and start to look forward, not backwards. So if you have, it seems to you like you've lost something, you've been rejected by maybe family, by maybe friends, or you didn't get the job that you wanted, or someone that you liked didn't like you back, you know, there's no point in keep reliving that and looking backwards. Just start building your future, start looking forward, make plans for your life without those things that you hoped that you would have. So build your future, go for new things, maybe go for a different kind of job, or you know, same kind of thing that you wanted but in a different company. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. You can't just stop because you didn't get something that you really wanted at that time. So make sure you start planning and building your future as well. Okay, so those are my 5 points on how to deal with rejection. And of course, you know, it's really, really important that in any kind of situation in life in general, you do look after your mental and your physical health, because it will help you cope when things kind of go a bit sour for you. And also to make yourself feel better, I really do recommend exercising, because it's not only good for you, but it also makes you happier after a good workout. So why not join your local gym? And here's our fitness expert, Jane Rafter, giving you some tips if you do decide to take that all-important jump. Let's see this.
Hi, I'm Jane, and welcome to our fitness tips for the day. And I'm with Elia today, who's my friend and is also a celebrity personal trainer. So lovely to have you with us today, Elia. We're going to be chatting to you about gym tips and technique tips for working out, either at home or in the gym actually. And I'm going to start with the use of hand weights. I'm a great believer in the use of hand weights, especially for women, because it not only strengthens your muscles, it strengthens your bones, and women need to work with weights. And most women, I bet you agree, Elia, work with weights that are too light, don't they?
100%. I think with women, they definitely need to be making sure they're working with heavier weights.
Yeah.
It won't make you bulky.
Nope.
That's the first thing that women say straight away.
Yeah.
It's going to make you bulky. It won't make you bulky. So as long as you're progressing your weight training slowly week by week,
yes,
I think that's the key as well.
Exactly. So, I mean, what I've got in my hand now are 2-3 kilogram weights. If you're absolutely new to weights, start with 2.5, but you should really be working with 3 or even 4 or 5. So I'm going to start with some simple bicep curls. Now, when you work with hand weights, you've got to make sure that you support your core section. So you don't stand with your back arched, you soften your knees and you draw your abs in and you keep your core section really still and locked and secure and safe, so that as you move the weights, you're not putting any pressure on your lower back. And this is especially true in a shoulder press, because you see a lot of women going into that position, which can hurt your back. So I really recommend you give weights a try. You can get these at home. You don't have to go to the gym. I'm doing biceps here. I'm doing shoulders. You can do front raise. You can do side raise. There's loads of different things you can do. So have a go with weights, especially women out there. We don't want osteoporosis when we're older. So I'm just going to quickly hand over to Elia, who's going to talk to you with some rowing tips.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just take you through, guys, just how to use the rower. So it's an upper body and lower body workout, and you're also targeting your core as long as you're keeping nice and upright as well. So the main aim is making sure the feet are strapped into the cages securely. You're going to be taking the bar and you're going to be pulling the bar into the belly button, but keeping nice and proud through the chest. So we're really kind of keeping that posture as straight as we can. And as we pull in, we're going to make sure we bring the elbows into the body, so keeping the elbows tucked in, so you're really working the back muscles. And just as you can see, guys, I'm not locking out the knee, so no locking of the knee, of the joint. We want to keep a soften, just a little soften through the knee, so we're not kind of putting any strain through our joints. And this is a great warm-up, I think, Jane, for this as well. So it's a great warm-up for warming up everything before you get into your main workout. Also, you can add it into interval training, so you can go and do some weights, come back to the rower, 30 seconds on of like interval training as quick as we can, 30-second rest. You could do that 5 to 10 times and you can build up slowly. So I would recommend it, especially for warm-ups and in between weight training would be great. So you're kind of upping your intervals, upping your heart rate and getting the most out of your workout as well. Great fat burner as well. So hopefully guys, you've taken some tips from both of us and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much, Jane. Now, as we close in this two-part special on the life of a single parent, I've learned, and I keep saying it, that the physical and mental strength and courage it takes to get by and raise your child or children single-handedly is really, really amazing. And there's so many people that are doing it out there, and you know, they're doing such a great job. So well done to you. So my message to everyone at home is, if you are a child of a single parent, do love them and appreciate them even more, and don't take them for granted. They probably have had a really tough journey, even if they don't tell you all about it. So massive thank you to all of our lovely guests for sharing their stories and giving us some insight into the unique life of a single parent. But before we leave, I want to share some exciting news. As it's season 5, from now on every month we'll be visiting a city near you to showcase and learn more about the place and hopefully meet some of you locals out there. And to kick things off in August, the Chrissy B Show is off to Bournemouth, so hopefully we will see you there, and we really can't wait. Now, if you want the Chrissy B Show to come to a location near you, do let us know where and why we should come to you. And you can actually fill in the form on our website, chrissybshow.tv, and you can also leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Well, sadly, that's all we have time for on today's program. But if you at home have a story to tell us that is, you know, motivational, it can help inspire other people, do get in touch by filling in the form again, chrissybshow.tv, and you can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show and leave a message on the Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Well, that's all we have time for today, guys, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.